Well, today marks 1 week to the special election in Pennsylvania, where polls show the race is tied in that contest that could serve as a 2018 bellwether, as I like to talk about it. Former Vice President Joe Biden is going there today to stump for Democrat Conor Lamb, while President Trump will rally for Republican Rick Saccone this weekend. Saccone on the left of your screen, Lamb on the right. Joining us now from Philadelphia, the former Democratic governor of that Keystone State, DNC chair as well, Ed Rendell. Governor, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Harris, nice to be here with you.
You know, as we kind of get into this, how do you see President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden making a difference for either of these candidates?
Well, it's really about turnout right now. It's pretty much a dead even race in all the polls within the margin of error. So it's who turns out its voters. Joe Biden's the one national political figure that Conor Lamb can bring in without suffering any blowback. The Lamb people have done a great job campaigning. He's been a great candidate, and they've prevented this race becoming nationalized like the Atlanta congressional race was. Lamb has made it about he and Mr. Saccone. Biden's the only candidate who appeals to working class folks. So I think it's safe to bring Biden in. But don't underestimate Mr. Trump's appeal, President Trump's appeal. In a recent statewide poll taken by a Democrat, he was found to have a 46% favorable rating in Pennsylvania, for example, compared to 37% in Michigan. So he's still fairly strong in working class areas in Pennsylvania. So can he energize the base? Because it's all about who's more enthusiastic, who gets out to vote in higher numbers.
Wow, that is such a candid answer with regard to your own party. I mean, what does it say that Joe Biden is the only one who can come in and that candidate, Conor Lamb, won't suffer anything by a visit? That is very interesting. So I'm curious to know, too, about what this, you know, people talk about it being a bellwether for midterms. Is it really, and how so?
No, it's already a bellwether for midterms. If Conor Lamb loses by 5 points or less, the Democrats have picked up 15% since the presidential election, because President Trump carried the district by 20 points. So it's a bellwether, as almost every race in 2017 has been, bellwether that Democrats are moving up in the percentage of vote they get in every district in the country. And that's because of the enthusiasm gap, which right now favors Democrats. So I think it's already been a bellwether. But if Conor Lamb were to win, it spells huge trouble. Now, again, remember, Conor Lamb's been a great candidate. Mr. Saccone, not so much. And that matters. The candidates still matter. And in Atlanta, the Democrats allowed it to become a national race. Who's going to control Congress?
Let me step in there just for a second, Governor Rendell, because I know politics play a part of everything. So do you like Conor Lamb because he's on your team and you dislike Rick Saccone because he's not? Or what do you see?
No, when I'm on the air, I try to be a dispassionate commentator.
And you have been up until this point. That's why I'm asking.
Now, look, you ask Republicans. Conor Lamb has just totally outshone Mr. Saccone. He's won every debate, and I think Republicans will tell you the same thing. Will that matter? It's a heavily Republican district as it's constituted now. But the thing that the Lamb people have done so well, in Atlanta, they let it all become about who was going to be Speaker, Paul Ryan or Nancy Pelosi. And in that district, people voted to keep the status quo. Conor Lamb has said he would not vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. He'd vote for someone else. Conor Lamb is pro-gun rights. Conor Lamb is pro-life. He's a perfect candidate for the district. And one of the things we Democrats have to come to grips with is we need pro-life Democrats. We need Democrats who aren't as strong on gun control as some of us are. We need to have a broad tent, and we have a chance to win. But this is an interesting race. But if Conor Lamb comes within 5 points, it's a big bellwether saying that Republicans are in for real trouble in November.
Interesting. I want to go back and talk a little bit more about your party, former DNC chair. You know that at a national level, the DNC is struggling, the DCCC too, with fundraising right now. With your experience, what do you think the problem is? And oh, by the way, I mean, the tax cuts are working for Republicans.
Well, look, Republicans traditionally have an advantage in fundraising, and the tax cuts are working because Republicans have had on the air for 3 or 4 months stuff touting the good parts of the tax cuts, not telling anybody the bad parts of the tax cuts.
Wait a minute. People opened up their paychecks, and you can't argue with the fact that those paychecks for millions of Americans are bigger, appreciably in some instances.
Oh, sure, they are, and there's no question about it. But the middle-class taxpayers are getting a tax cut that's to their advantage. But real estate developers, maybe 1,000 strong across the country, are getting $341 billion in 10 years. That dwarfs what the middle class is getting. And we haven't had the money to go on the air and point those things out. So Republicans are being very effective, and it's worked. When the tax cut bill was passed, it had 25% favorable ratings. Now it's over 50%. So it's working. There's no question about it.
So when
I'm not sure the 2018 election is going to be as easy as some progressives think it's going to be.
I was just going to say that. So you talk about the challenges ahead. That's a huge one, because economics was a message that Hillary Clinton didn't carry very well for you in the last general, and it's going to be one that's tough because people are getting jobs and they're making money, so on and so forth. Former governor of the great state.
But can I say one last thing,
Yes,
Harris?
go ahead. I was going to give you a great state, but go ahead.
What happens if Conor Lamb wins the election? That means that even though people are seeing more money in their paycheck, they simply don't care.
Interesting. Well, we'll watch, and we'll bring you back. The great state of Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Thank you.